Filipinos tend to have larger families, which I mentioned before, which means that their house is not always the quietest. Before you hire someone, you want to make sure they have a quiet place to work without any distractions. If they have 2 or 3 kids, you want to make sure that someone is taking care of those kids while they're working, so they're not trying to work and take care of the kids at the same time. Sometimes they'll get a nanny, sometimes it'll be another family member, but you really only want to work with virtual assistants that have a quiet workspace, and you want to set that expectation. It's also not uncommon during graveyard shift or certain times of the day, especially early morning, there might be roosters or other outside factors, outside noises, and I know that sounds funny, but I've seen that happen. So if you're working with someone that is doing voice work and they're working from home and they're talking to your customers or talking to you on the phone, you might want to encourage them or even buy them a noise canceling headset. It's not that expensive. Maybe you don't do that right away, but after you build a little bit of a relationship and trust with them, it is a good investment to get rid of the outside noise. Next is cultural differences and their mindset. And this is a big one that I personally struggled with when I was hiring from the Philippines for the first time. Now, I tend to be very direct when I'm talking business. I tell them how it is. I fire off a quick email. I tell someone if they do something good. I tell someone if they do something bad. And people in the Philippines tend to be a little bit more shy and a little bit more emotional, and they take things personally. So I offended people in the Philippines, my virtual assistants, just by being a little harsh and a little bit aggressive and a little bit direct. So understand that going in, and there's a few things you can do. First of all, I like to tell any virtual assistant that I work with how I am as a business owner. I explain that I'm busy, I explain that I talk fast, I explain that I try to be honest feedback, and just because I'm being direct or I fire off an email or I tell them they do something wrong, it doesn't mean I hate them or I don't like them. I just want to be direct, and I need to be able to do that. Second, you have to learn to change the way that you communicate. Instead of firing off that email, or I've seen clients yell at virtual assistants, which is a great way to have them go out and find another client, talk to them in a different way. Add fluff to your emails, to your messages. Hey, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. We'll talk about this in our management session, showing appreciation. Hey, I really appreciate the work that you did here. Here are a few things that you can correct next time. Instead of saying something like, you messed up here, which is very direct, and it makes them take a step back because they're not used to it in their culture. The other part of being shy is they might be scared to ask questions. You want to encourage them to ask questions, show them that questions are good, that it means that they want to learn something and you can teach them something new, and it's not something to be afraid of, and you don't want them to say yes if they don't understand something just to make you happy. And sometimes it takes a little while to break them out of that habit. You have to remember that some virtual assistants have worked with some, I won't say bad clients, but clients that operate in a way that I wouldn't operate as. They might yell at the VAs, they might talk down to the VAs, they might not encourage ideas, they might not encourage questions, and you want to break those habits right from the beginning. You want to establish, this is what my culture is, this is what I like, this is how I'm going to treat you. And if you are someone like me that has a lot of things going on, and sometimes you slip up and you're direct or you're harsh or you call someone out on something, apologize afterwards, explain that you're doing your best and you're trying to adapt and you're trying to communicate better, and they will appreciate that you're trying. Next is security and stability. We talked about their family a bunch. They want security and stability. So let them in on the bigger picture. For Outsource School, we hired a virtual assistant, and we told them, hey, we're going to start with a small amount of hours here. We have some data entry work, but this is what it could evolve to if Outsource School does well. And we painted a vision that if Outsource School grows, that they will have more work and more steady pay. And we did the same thing at FreeUp when we started. We had VAs that we hired part-time. So we started off with Jane at $5 an hour for 20 hours a week as a customer service rep. And I told her the vision of FreeUp. I told her that leadership positions would open up as the company grew. And that's what happened. I eventually made her full-time and then a leader and raised her pay. So instead of 5, by the time we sold FreeUp, she was making around 10. And we even gave her a large amount of money with the buyout to reward her. So not only did we paint that picture, we showed how we can create a stable job and security, which is what a lot of the people in the Philippines want, but we also held our word and treated them accordingly. Don't tell someone that you're going to give them a raise or more hours or whatever it is, and then not do it. But you can be honest and say, hey, my business is running into trouble, and so I can't do it at this time, but this is what I'm looking to do. Here's the new game plan. And lastly, in these additional tips is being family oriented. They have large families. They could have brothers, sisters, kids, elders. sending an older person to a nursing home is not something they do a lot of in the Philippines. So if someone has an older mom, an older dad, or grandparents, a lot of times they are taking care of them. So you do want to understand what their family situation is, because if it's one person and they're taking care of 4 elderly people and 2 kids and it's just them and they're not splitting the responsibilities with anyone, they're really one issue away from not being able to work if they have to go to the hospital to take care of one of the elders or something like that. So you want to understand and make sure that they have focus on work, that they have someone taking care of the kids, that it's not just them taking care of the entire family. And that's something to definitely find out as you talk to your virtual assistant.